What is up, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today we are doing a brand new episode of the United States of America. In the previous episode, essentially what had happened is that we were trying to pass a tax reform, and one of the things that happened with that tax reform was essentially that we did get the employee social security tax down to about 8%. We were not able to touch the employer social security tax, but I'm actually going to lower that in this episode. We're making $767 billion off of the employer social security payment tax. In the first episode, I actually increased the company tax to about 25%, which that raising any three of these, I've actually gotten a couple of comments asking me about what these things do. Essentially, what these are supposed to do is employer social security payments and company taxes. Both of those are directly tied to economic growth, and the reason that they're tied to economic growth is because whenever it comes down to these industries, all of them are being directly taxed by these two taxes right here. The employees of who work for these sectors, they are the employees that are not, you know, in a management position or anything above a regular employee. They are subject to this tax right here. So they are only getting 8% of their payroll being taxed from the federal government. Whenever it comes to those who run the places, that is employers, they are paid by the employer and invisible to employees. They're generally higher than employees' social charges that go toward funding social welfare. And then this one, this is how much we're taxing the company heads, and then this is how much we're taxing the company as an entity. And then we also did increase the tax on petroleum and energy products. We're going to go ahead and continue to raise that. Probably we're going to get it above 0.1%, I think we're going to try to go for. So if we go over to the industrial tab, let's go ahead and look to see what I did in the previous episode. In the previous episode, we went through and we subsidized each of these individually. One of the biggest things that we need to concentrate on is expanding our economy and going toward any sort of economic growth that we can go for. Changing all of these to 500 million. I do that for cereals. Cereals is a very important sector. I absolutely recommend that is one of the baselines that you need. If you do not have cereals, you do not have anything. And actually for cereals, let's go ahead and give them $1.5 billion worth of subsidies. We are not budging 17%. Hopefully that does go up over the next couple of years. How much we're making off of this? We're making $211 billion worth of sales in the cereal sector, and we're making $83 billion in profits. That is actually down from $85 billion in the previous year. Let's go to contracts. Let's go to organic farming. We're not going to increase anything there yet, but what we are going to do, we're going to go to industrial pollution tax. We're going to go here and we're going to increase the industrial pollution tax to 0.5%. That's going to raise $320 billion for our economy, that is not going to pass the Senate. So we need to decrease that to 0.35%. That is going to raise nearly $200 billion for our economy. That will lower our deficit significantly. A rate that lowers it from about 5.3% to 4.72%. That is very good for us here. We have nearly, wow, we have nearly we have a $900 billion deficit right now. Let's go over to budget, let's go to public debt, and then let's go to budget deficit. We have a $1 trillion budget deficit as of this moment right now. We need to work as hard as we can to lower that deficit as much as we possibly can. We need to instigate some more economic growth. Pharmaceutical industry sector, the state is imposing a price reduction. That is great that we are introducing price reductions. And then also for farming, let's go over to cereals, and then let's go over to price reduction. And let's decrease the price by about 5%. That will cost the government $16 billion over immediately, actually. That is the amount of money that we're going to be paying this sector to cover. We'll have to defray this reduction in order to, it says if the state decides to lower prices to promote purchasing power, it will have to defray this reduction in order to not penalize producing companies in the relevant sector. Let's go ahead and decrease this to about $380 per ton. We're going to do that exactly, and then it's going to cost us $17 billion. That is going to be a reduction percentage of 5.3%. So we're going to go ahead and introduce that. Hopefully it does get past Congress. It has a 89% chance of passing the House of Representatives and 87% of passing the Senate. So that is good on us. Let's go over here. Let's go to GDP, and then let's go over to volume by year. Let's check our entire agricultural sector. We are the most profitable for our GDP is $920 million being produced by the vegetable sector. Let's look at this vegetable sector real quick, and then we have 4% of the world's production in the United States, 22% of the world's consumption, and that gives us a negative $50 billion trade balance for our vegetable sector. We're making $144 billion worth of sales in the vegetable sector. We are making $50 billion in profits, and that translates to a 1.388 productivity index. We are making 1.2% off of our income tax, and then it employs about 309,000 people in the United States. That is a lot of people that are associated with that sector. 74,000 in the cereal sector, and then colza, what are our subsidies doing over here? I think we can give them, afford to give them a couple of more subsidies to increase that production, because we can get it self-reliant off of ourselves if we give it more subsidies. We have a $300 million negative trade deficit with the colza sector. We are making $965 million in sales in colza, and we are making $286 million in profits. That translates to a 0.986% or 0.986 productivity index. That also translates to an income tax of 0.011%. And employs about 5,000 people. That is up from 2,000 people. So we have employed over 3,000 more people into the colza sector. Let's go down to colza, and let's give them, let's do $2.5 billion. I think that should, yeah, that increases our production significantly. We're gonna go to energy real quick, and I have not embarked on any energy projects as of right now. We have an energy surplus of 165 terawatts. That is down from 183 terawatts. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to third generation nuclear power, or this energy park. It's called a nuclear power plant. God, for God's sake. Let's go ahead and place that nuclear power plant right here. We're gonna go for another one. We're gonna build this one just south of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we're gonna go for another. We're gonna go for 5 nuclear power plants. This is going to be the first stage of our Green New Deal that we're going to embark on, because one of the biggest things that we need to concentrate on is nuclear electricity. We can go for offshore power plants. We can go for onshore as well. We can also go for more hydroelectricity. I think we're going to shoot for about 1,200 of these plants. And then we can go for hydroelectricity, third generation nuclear power. We are going to go for onshore, offshore, and we're also going to go for geothermal. Biomass, we could, no, I don't think, actually, yeah, definitely not biomass. We're not going to go for that because that does contribute to global warming. And then solar, we're going to go for 2 of these. We're going to go for 2 of these. Let's put one. Can we put this one in West Virginia? No, we cannot. We're going to go ahead and put these in South Texas. I'm going to put them right next to the coast. Let's go for 1, and then let's go for 2. This is going to be north of the, what is this? This is called the South Texas Nuclear Power Plant. Produces 8.75 terawatts worth of power. All right, if we actually look over here, we're going to look at our Dow Jones real quick. We're at a high of about $14,000 points. And now we're sinking down to about 13,000 points. If we look over here at a growth forecast, we have a negative 0.67% growth rate right now. It is plummeting like a rock. So what we need to do, we need to go ahead and reverse some of our policies. We need to go over here. We need to go to employer social security payments. We're going to lower that to about 15%. I think that should be accepted. Yet that is very universally accepted by our Congress. So let's go ahead and call this the American Growth, spelled that wrong, Growth Act of 2021. And we're going to create the reform, and it's going to wipe out about $20 billion from our economy. If we lower this to 7%, we lower it to 7%, maybe we could. And I think we're going to shoot to lower this to about 24%. Again, this is going to be a reversal of some of our policies earlier this year, but I think it should help us out in terms of that. So let's go ahead and increase this to 0.5%. I think we should be able to add this to the reform. Republicans are going to be significantly against it, but I think we should still be able to get it past the reform that will get us the money that we need to offset that growth. Lowering. I think we should also, if we can do this, can we do this? Yes, we can. We can wipe out the GAFA tax. I think we need to get rid of the GAFA tax. Again, this is going to be a significant reversal from our previous policies, and even the Democrats are starting to come against it, but we need to do this to save our economy. Let's go to the next day, see the public reaction to that. Lower social, bigger environment, higher industry, and lower public finances, because we are in some ways, the public finances, because we are wiping out some of the money that was going into our economy, but after some popular backlash from the YouTube channel, I do need to wipe out that GAFA tax, because that does not provide anything toward our economy. United States network departure of the jihadist caliphate organization from the United States. A simulation program based on someone's models. The application of, smart guy stuff. As you can see, nothing is left to chance, which is why this operation was successful in eradicating the terrorist organization. Let's go ahead and go over to Iraq. Let's create a network of agents in Iraq. Let's put 60 over there, and let's call for the dismantlement of these terrorist groups that are all over Iraq. We need to help them fight terrorism. We don't need to put any more troops over there. We have a meeting request from Ban Ki-moon of South Korea. Let's go ahead and ask or accept that meeting, and then we have very good relations with them. We can ask for another military base. I think that will help us out against China and North Korea. Let's go ahead and also ask for about 1,000 more volunteer troops. Let's invite Japan for a meeting. We're gonna invite him over. Why dividers are no? Oh, okay, never mind. I was wondering, I was just like, why is our relations so bad? And I saw Shinzo Abe, and I was just like, he's a conservative rightist. But again, I keep forgetting that we're not playing as a conservative rightist anymore. You play as one single party in a regular game for so long, and I mean, it makes you confused whenever the next, especially whenever it's not on a new version. It's you don't really know you're on a new version anymore, so it's kind of like just confusing sometimes. Let's go ahead and ask all of this. Ask him.
Thank you very much for your advice.
But I don't need
it.
I shall decide on my own. Jeez, okay, Japan. Let's go ahead and ask for a trade contract with them, and then let's see if we can sell them some of our weapons. What we need to do, we need to make some money off of our weapons, but if we can't, I think we could increase our exports. We need to sell something very, I mean, see, there's no way for the United States to do it. There's no way. I mean, I don't know how to do this as the United States, and I mean, I have a couple of people that I know that are able to get the GDP to above about $21 trillion, but I mean, let's go ahead and check our GDP against China. So it is now dropping to about $18 trillion as of right now, and China's GDP is dropping, or about to 15. Since we are in a recession, is the rest of the world in a recession? Let's go ahead and check the economy. Let's go to growth. And Eastern Europe seems to have some low growth. No, they're having higher growth. It looks like Western Europe is having minimal growth right now. Germany has 0.3% growth. The United Kingdom has 0.4% growth. France has 0.08% growth. Spain 0.3% growth. Italy 0.43%. Iran really seems to be in a recession as of right now, and the United States again is in a recession. Canada right now is getting about 0.23. I think what we're gonna do this. We're gonna go to energy. We're gonna go on a massive spending program. We're gonna go here. We're gonna build about 10 more nuclear power plants, third generation nuclear power plants. We need to expand our nuclear fleet as much as possible, and then once we are able to get these things completed, they're going to be done in about 4 months. Once we're able to get them completed, what that is going to do, that is going to give us so much electricity that it is going to expand our growth then, because I've actually been able to do that in several gameplays on my own as the United States, and usually whenever I go on this massive spending spree, it doesn't look that good because, you know, I'm spending about almost $100 billion each on these facilities. But if I can, you know, get at least about a dozen of these, more than a dozen of these completed, and then those contribute so much to our economy, then that will give us the room to grow our economy in the meantime. Let's go over to third generation nuclear electricity, and then let's completely nationalize this sector. It is gonna cost us $2. That's the lowest amount that I've ever been able to see in this game. Let's go over to Parliament's position and see what we can do over here. That is not going to pass us right now, but we can do a TV address. If we can do a TV address, that will help us out. And the reason I am fully nationalizing this sector is, for one, to give it the opportunity to grow under my arm. If I can get this sector to grow, this sector will contribute more than $100 billion in profits to my economy. I think we could do wind power. Wind power? No, we are producing way more in wind power than we were going to be able to afford. So we cannot afford to nationalize. We can afford to nationalize solar power, but we cannot afford to nationalize wind power. Let's go over to hydraulic electricity. How much will this cost? $91 billion. We cannot afford that as of right now. Fossil electricity, we cannot afford that. That is making nearly $1 trillion in profits. That is another thing about this, is that I think dismantling this usually does hurt your, let's go over here to volume. dismantling them, that does reduce your GDP. Usually you're able to increase your GDP in the meantime, but for whatever reason, this is the second time that I've been going through something similar to this. Usually, and the reason my debt right here is going up is because my GDP is shrinking. So what I need to go over here, so our deficit is going down, so we need to lower our deficit continuously. So let's go again over here, and let's go over to, tax on industrial pollution. Can I get this to 1%? Could I get it to 1%? 61%, so the Republicans would not like that, but the Democrats would like it. We could get that up. That lowers our deficit significantly, lowers our deficit to 2.62%. So that should wipe out, what was our deficit before? It was about $900 billion, 98765. That should lower it to about $500 billion, so we're not borrowing as much from our treasury or from international lenders. All right, and we passed that resolution, so that is awesome, that we tax the industrial pollution at about 1%. I don't know whether that is hurting our economy, or, I mean, goes right back up to about 5.33%, but I think that should be able to go down once those taxes are actually calculated. So let's continue to go about a week. We're gonna go forward about a week. Let's back up. Then we have technology research. That's okay. Let's go over here.
Although
you can do better, and then you can do better. So let's go to debt, and our debt to GDP ratio continues to rise. Let's see, the next quarterly loan is going to be about $160 billion. It's going to be significantly less than the previous one. So our deficit was really hovering around there, and then now it kind of just shocked back down, and then now it has plummeted down to about $600 billion, $653 billion. So that's awesome. Let's look at this in correlation to our next loan from these countries. We're getting about $31 billion from the People's Republic of China. We're getting about $10 billion from Japan, $7.31 billion from Germany, and $5.94 billion from India. So those are pretty good that we're getting that money from them, but again, any sort of debt that you're incurring is not good for your economy. Get a lot of approval from public finances, so that is awesome that we're getting that. Let's go over to inflation. Inflation has stopped going down, so I think that should be the turnaround for our economy. Our economy is now shrinking by about 5.7%, and that is again, flat line for about a month. So we need to figure out something to do here. Our Dow Jones is hovering about, I think what we need to do, we need to go back into here, and we need to continue to subsidize our economy. We need to go over here. Let's go to $700 million, 1.5. We're going to give you about $10 billion in subsidies. And then building, housing, and roadway, we're giving you about $25 billion in subsidies, give you about an additional $10 billion in subsidies. Chemicals, 15.34. So I think that stayed about the same. Great Public Bionics, we're making about 100% of the world's production off of this. So let's go here. Here, can we nationalize this sector fully? We cannot. I always have trouble trying to nationalize the Great Public Bionics sector because that sector makes so much money off of that. But look at this purchase price right here. That is disappointing. I mean, sort of bugged out. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to replicate. Let's go to paper, pharmaceutical industry. What happens over here? We're making, let's do about $5 billion worth of subsidies into the pharmaceutical industry. And then steel, let's do $10 billion worth of subsidies. Tire industry, utility vehicle construction, we could go for some more subsidies into there. Let's give about $15 billion worth of subsidies into the utility vehicle construction sector. And then let's go over to energy. Let's go over to energy, and then let's do nuclear generated electricity. Let's give you $5 billion worth of subsidies. And then I think what we're gonna do, adjust the total workforce. Let's do about 50,000. Let's do 50,000 workers into that sector. And then get a pipeline, total workforce, subsidized exoneration. I think we're gonna go ahead and do an exoneration of this sector real quick. And then once they make over about $5 billion in profits, then we will raise those exonerations. Let's do solar. How much are we making over here? 0.18. We are making, I think we could exonerate this sector as well. And then oil, we're gonna do, actually, let's go here to uranium. Let's do uranium. And then, fun fact, there is a piece of legislation in the United States Senate right now that has bipartisan support. It is called the American Nuclear Infrastructure Act of 2020. Essentially, what that is supposed to do, that is going to revitalize the American nuclear industry, and that will also create a national uranium reserve. So this is actually what I'm going to be replicating off of real life. We're going to bring the uranium sector under full state control. This will help us in the make our own uranium stockpile, and then as well make sure that all of the uranium that we are using in our nuclear power plants is completely American made. So we're going to go ahead and nationalize this sector entirely. That's going to cost us about $2.79 billion now. So let's go over here. That does not pass the Senate. But I think if we get some more if we can get some stronger Democratic support for the legislation, I think that should help us get it passed. People do not like the environmental decisions that I'm making, but I think I'm gonna make up for it by investing more into the environment. So if I go over here, let's do some more into air pollution. Let's do some more into chemical pollution, more into water treatment, more into recycling. And then let's do one into nuclear flat threats. Let's give about $5 billion in funding to forest fires, since we are very susceptible to forest fires and will always be able to get those in the United States. So that is going to be the biggest threat that we have that we need to fight. Let's go over a couple of weeks and see what happens. Alright, we just had a meeting with the president, or with Burke Schuster, whatever the heck position he holds in this game. Essentially, I did get him to support the bill, and then now we have stronger Democratic support in the United States House and the United States Senate. There is enough Republican support from the other side of the aisle, even though they control the Senate. There is enough Republican support in essentially that we just barely get this thing passed. The House of Representatives and the Senate. This is going to be a very thin hair that we are going to get this bill passed by.
Agents that have infiltrated
and ironically,
confirmed their window of...
Alright, let's go ahead and dismantle that. Ironically, there is a forest fire in Alaska, so that is funny that right as we increase the amount of funding that we're doing to fire prevention, we get a forest fire. So let's see if that funding helps us there. Adjust the degree of nationalization for the uranium stockpile, so that is great that we are now fully in control of the uranium production. So let's give them about $1.5 billion worth of subsidies, and that helps us out there. And then 3.7% of the world's production. Let's do another $1 billion, see what that gets us. 4% of the world's production. I think we could do that. And our deficit right now is 3.89%. Let's go over to finance, and we're lowering the growth, or increasing the growth just a tiny bit. We cannot afford to get any worse with the growth that we have right now. So we need to continue to fix the situation. Do we need to lower the company tax to exactly where it was before? Maybe. I think we have to. think we have to. Let's lower this to about 20%, and I think that's going to be where we're going to keep it. So then, if we can do this, let's attach it to a reform, and let's call it the American Competitiveness Act of 2021. It's going to cut $69 billion from our economy, but we are going to make up for it in the meantime. Let's do that, and then let's attach an increase of the industrial pollution tax by about 0.2%. The max that I'm ever going to increase the industrial pollution tax, the max that I'm ever going to increase that to is 2%. I'm never going to go anywhere above 2%. I guess it was a very, very ill-advised idea for me to increase the company tax for gameplay purposes, because this is more of a gameplay thing than anything else, because our growth rate is very much reliant on the company tax and the employer social security payment tax. I guess if you ever increase this is you learning it here, and this was literally me proving this. I essentially knew that this was going to happen, but I did it anyway because I wanted to see. I've never done this. Played more as a liberal in this game, so I guess one of the biggest things is don't ever increase the company tax, because that will throw your economy into a recession. So we're going to go ahead and lower this from 24% to 20%. That will be 1% lower than the previous administration's tax, so this will be the most pro business administration that we will be able to have. Deficit is nearing about $800 billion right now. We need to go about a week. See what happens. Forest fire has been taken care of, so let's go forward. American Competitiveness Act of 2021 has been passed in Parliament, or Congress, through TACA World Swimming Association. Let's go here, go to the next week, and let's see what happens. Maybe did this complete? We are also nearing the completion of these nuclear power plants, so that is good to see. Negative 5.9% growth rate in contrast with the previous estimate of 0.93. Our economy is not good. This is not good. Our economy is about to collapse. This is recession territory. This is a very much a United States recession that we are going through, probably being caused by the increase of the company tax. So that was one of the worst decisions that I have probably ever made in any series that I have ever done. So again, do not increase your company tax because it will kill your economy. GDP is still trying to continue to go up. Growth rate is still trending downward, but we just finally passed the American Competitiveness Act, so that should help us out in that sort of way. Let's see what they want to do. They want to sell us some coal. I'm going to go ahead and refuse that opportunity. Quarterly stands at 8%. Our unemployment rate is at 8%. As a reminder, the rate of the previous quarter was 4%. Our unemployment rate went up by 4% in one quarter. That is really bad. That is really bad. We need to fully fund help for employing seniors and young people. We need to go to a legislation. We need to not touch. We don't need to touch the minimum wage because that's going to make the situation even worse. Duration for unemployed, minimum solidarity allowance. Let's go ahead and call for a $200 solidarity allowance. That should help us. It is paid to individuals who do not gain enough to pay through work to meet their needs. It is allocated on a base of different social criteria and always takes into account the total available resources. The beneficiary is often expected to sign up to a back-to-work contract. That is going to cost us about $10 billion. So let's go ahead and introduce that. I think that should help us in terms of the poverty rate, to make sure that people are able to pay for their needs even whenever they're running out of work. So that should I mean, we're giving $200 that, and then plus they're signing up for a back-to-work contract, so that is going to help us in terms of that. So let's see, this is going to be done in about 22 days, so I think we can continue to go forward. Terrible earthquake in Alaska.
We have just found out that a large earthquake has devastated a region. It is still too early to give an accurate assessment of the disaster, but I fear that many people have lost their lives.
This is just a lot. I mean, this is a lot of stuff hitting us at one time. We are going through a national recession right now. We're going through a recession. We are having many different natural disasters happen. We have an earthquake that just hit Alaska. 319 people have lost their lives in Alaska, just outside of Juneau, Alaska. So we're going to send about $250 million worth of national aid to the city of Juneau, or the region of Alaska. We're going to say no to patenting that. Secretary of Defense threatens our course of action. Good job on the rating agency. That's good that we're getting some better ratings from these agencies. Let's go over to finance. Let's see what our growth rate is doing. Stock market is continuing to go up, so this could be good in terms. I mean, we're hitting about 12,000 points within the Dow Jones. So if we can, is our GDP going up? Our GDP is still not going up, but our Dow Jones is going up. So I think day of national mourning. Let's go ahead and accept that day of national mourning for Alaska. We have enough bullying as it is. We're going to skip that university opening. Let's continue to go. So we're going to go to the end of the month. We're going to go to the month of August. Let's stop here. Minimum solidarity allowance has been passed. A slight decrease in extreme poverty is now 14%. That is not enough, but we need to continue to do more. Enlargement of the G7 to include Russia in the next summit for the G7 on August 24th, 2021. Let's go ahead and accept that opportunity. Period of national mourning. Let's see what Joe Biden has to say.
This tragedy affects every man and every woman in this country. Therefore, I have decided to declare a national day of mourning so that we might come together as a nation in a time of reflection. Thank you.
All right, Joe Biden gives us a day of national mourning in response to the massive earthquake that devastated Juneau, Alaska. Let's go over to energy. Let's see what's going on over in energy. We have a massive increase in the surplus that we have. It goes from 183 terawatts to 352 terawatts. So that's gonna help us in terms of just continuing to have a pool of electricity that we can continue to grow our economy in. Let's see our trade balance over here. Trade balance in industry. What's going on over here? It has gone down by about $200 billion. So we're exporting about $200 billion more in industry. If we go over to farming, we are doing slightly worse in terms of that, but we are making more sales in terms of farming. So that is good, but then also not bad. We're doing it's our service industry that's killing us right now. That's we need to services. What's going on over here? What's going on? You are doing slightly worse. Can we give you about $15 billion? That makes our deficit a little bit worse, but again, we're hoping that this is going to translate back into income taxes that we're going to be able to make off of it. Telecom operators, let's go ahead and give you about $1 billion worth of subsidies. Urban transportation, we are doing better, but we need to increase the trade balance. Roadway transportation, railway transportation, all doing the same. Naval transportation, what are you doing? You're doing good. You're self-sufficient. Courier transportation, air transportation. What about banks? I don't think we need to even worry about banks, honestly. Advertising, you are doing $200 billion, so we could give you about $1.5 billion. Actually, let's give you about $3.5 billion. Okay, I think that's what we're gonna do for now. Internet services, let's go ahead and give you about $1 billion, but then internet services, if we increase subsidies to this is going to kill our electricity pool. So we need to make sure that we are on top of the situation whenever it comes to energy production. So again, one of the biggest concentrations of this administration is going to be energy production as well as energy sufficiency. Anyway, guys, we have been recording for long enough. I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits for this episode right here. We are still in the midst of a massive recession that we need to take care of. If you guys have any suggestions about what I should be doing in the next episode, please give me some suggestions down in the comments below if you have any advice. So then if we are able to fix the situation whenever it comes to the next episode, I will definitely be putting your ideas into the economic tutorial. However, look at this. We are doing better within the trade balance overall. We are actually doing about maybe $1 trillion better in the trade balance, and then we are also reducing our importations and then increasing our exportations. So that is really good news for our currency, and then also really good news for the future outlook of our economy. We are also doing way better in terms of the stock market. The stock market continues to go up, and this will translate greatly whenever it comes to economic growth. Let's back up here. Place of honor for the United
Our
States.
national theater company is experiencing great success.
Great success. Its presence and prestigious in the National Court of Honor of the Papal Palace. That is good. So that is awesome to hear. Forest fire in Ohio. We'll take care of that next time. Let's do a national or anti-terrorism operation in Nigeria and Indonesia. And again, we're just going to the month of August. You can do better. I think that might be the end of the quarter. Should
Our
that be the end of
network
the
has
quarter?
obtained
No.
intelligence.
All right, we have the opportunity for a cyber attack against North Korea, and as well as China. We also have the opportunity to give these guys their money back, so that is good. All right, all situations have been taken care of, guys. If you have any suggestions about what I should do in the next episode, it looks like our stock market is starting to hover around that. We are hovering about negative 5.8% growth right now, and our GDP is just hovering on a thread right here. So we need to figure something out really quickly. I lowered the company tax. Hopefully that's going to give us some more growth, but apparently it's not. I don't know if this is like hard coded into the game, because I feel like it is hard coded, because I've gone through this before, and that's the thing that sucks. I've gone through this like twice before as the United States in this new version, so I don't know if this is something that I can't even help. Do you guys go through a recession whenever you play as the United States, or what? Like what happens there? But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and call it quits here. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to see more episodes like this, go ahead and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any more of these United States episodes whenever they are released. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.